What's going on, everybody? Justin Schwartz here, live with you today, Tuesday, December 5th. Wow, my throat. I think everyone's got something going on with their throat right now, right? In their chest. December 5th, it is 3 p.m. Eastern time. We've started. How's everybody doing out there? Really excited for this holiday season. Hope you are as well. And today, I'm really excited to talk with my friend. Long time friend, known him for a while, and we bump into each other at all the trade shows. Always fun to see him. We've hung out after the trade shows. We have a good time, and he's a real salt of the earth kind of guy. So we're gonna have a good time talking to him. But my man Darrin Young, B-side from Das Audio North America, and just to let you know, we're going to be talking today about the Altea Duo 20A specifically, which is their new portable column array system from a company manufactured in Spain that does line array systems really better than most out there. Love Das Audio line array. So we're going to talk to him about that. And I find, for me, it's very attractive and it's very unique. And that's why we actually listed it as one of our top 4 portable column arrays under 2,000. You can check out that article at thedjsguru.com. But without any further ado, first of all, thank you to our sponsors at djsupply.store.com. Make sure you check that out. If you have any questions while you're watching this, drop this down below. My Darrin will be here to answer any questions, but we're going to bring them out. What's up, Darrin?
Thank you for letting me onto the stage, sir. I was chilling backstage, enjoying this moment. I really appreciate you inviting me to do this. It's been a while since I've seen you. It was a couple of months ago, right?
Since August was the last time I saw you. You guys had a beautiful booth at the expo in New Jersey.
The DOS. I call it Club DOS. It looks like a giant marshmallow.
Yeah, it was cool though, man. It looked great. All right, we got a little bit of an audio thing. For the audience, I'm going to ask you, do you guys hear an audio problem? If you do, drop a comment. Let us know if it's just me. Do you hear it, Darrin?
I'm not hearing it, but I don't hear myself.
All right, no big deal. We'll keep running through it.
I'm going to mute. You tell me if you hear it while I'm muted.
I don't hear you. Mm-mm.
So you only hear the crackle when my mic is on. Okay.
Yeah.
So noted.
Is that connected directly into your computer?
I am actually going through a little hub because I have a bunch of cameras connected.
Darrin's mic. I got a bunch
of cameras connected, but I got a pretty good hub here. It's not an Amazon special. It's an OSC hub.
No, it's a great mic. I see the mic. I've used it to save one. All right. Well, we're gonna run with it, and we're gonna hope that it improves. So we're here to talk about the Altea 20A today. You have it behind you. I'm excited about that.
Yes. So the Altea Duo is the new series of a column array from Das Audio, and we have 2 models. Today we're going to talk more about the 20A. Actually, that's my favorite as well. And we also have a slightly smaller one called the 10A. But the 20A, actually, you can go back to that slide. That'd be great. This is what makes our column a little bit different. Everyone has a sub and a bunch of top column drivers. And you'll find a lot of manufacturers will have a ton of little drivers. Well, instead of having like 12 or 6 very small drivers, we went with 4 3-inch drivers. And right above that, you see a little horn, a little port. That little square port above those drivers is actually a micro high frequency compression driver. So we have a compression driver inside this column, and there's really only 2 players on the market, I would consider in the retail realm, that actually have a 3-way column. And that's what makes this column very unique. First of all, you have a dual 10-inch sub, you have 4 3-inch drivers, plus you have a high frequency compression driver. And that compression driver, if anyone's really geeky or into audio, you'll understand there's just something about a horn and a compression driver in particular not a tweeter, not a ribbon driver, but an actual compression driver that throws the sound further and gives you a little bit more clarity when you have a three-way system versus what is currently most popular on the market, which are two-way systems, which is basically a sub for low, and then you have your top column for highs. So having a three-way column gives you a lot more clarity, a lot more definition, and even more control. But more importantly, you can stand back in the room 75, 100 feet away and still hear everything. That's the real difference. You've got to hear it to believe it.
The mic thing is kind of driving me a little insane. I'm going to be honest.
Well, let me grab.
I think the audience is probably going to agree. This is what I'm going to try. Yeah. This is what I'm going to try. I'm going to try to boot you. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Everybody, stick with us, all right? Listen, stick with us. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to get through this, even if we have to start it over. But Darrin is going to try to check something. To go over kind of what he just said, it's a three-way system, and this is one of the things that makes it really unique that I liked about it and I thought was very interesting, because you don't see that as much specifically at a true three-way system. Other brands give you walls of sound and a lot of components like this, but the way that this is tuned and the way that it's actually put together is different. So it does have a multiple component structure system, plus you have a 1-inch neodymium compression driver, so you're going to get that dynamic sound. Hello, he's back.
All right, I'm back. Let me see.
Yeah, it immediately sounds better.
Are you still getting it? Okay, now actually it's funny. I'm using the MacBook microphone. Let me switch over to the Shure. I'm wondering if it's the echo cancellation on it or not. Let's turn that off.
I went through that like the first year. I was trying to use a mixer and everything. And this is a little tip out there, anyone at live streams. At this point, I'm just using the Shure MV7 USB right into the computer.
Yep.
And my computer into my camera right into a Camlink 4K. That's it.
So is it still?
You sound much better now.
Okay. So I am using the Shure, and I am now going direct.
Oh, you have a sexy voice, Darrin. I mean, we need to hear it. I like it.
Whoa, now.
I almost feel like we should start over. Let's start over. Let's do it. All right, I'm going to pull you out. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Darrin B-Side Young. What's up, Darrin? How are you, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad my mic sounds nice. Check one.
This is a live show. If you're a DJ, it's a live show. You've got to keep going with it, and you never give up. Eventually, you'll figure it out, right?
Not only that, always be prepared. Always have your little bag of tricks.
And entertain while you do it. So, like, I don't know what's going on, right? I'm just trying to, hey, like that. Just do that. Eventually, Darrin shows up, and then it works. So, all right. I think we should just do that whole thing over again as well, because you had some really cool things that you said there. I, gave the Cliff's notes, but I want them to hear it from you.
Okay.
But before we dive into the speaker, first of all, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Darrin and I have known each other for quite a while, like I said, in the open. And Darrin tells a really nice story about who DAS Spain is. DAS North America, DAS Audio North America, is an extension of the main behemoth in Spain.
Correct.
They have a very unique way of manufacturing. They started here and they brought it out. They have the whole freaking city now. But from what I remember, and this is the big thing for me, I learned a lot about European manufacturing, Germany, Italy, Spain, just like it. They only do things one way, the right way. Yep. You're not going to get it fast. You're going to get a CAD drawing. You're not going to get a picture next to a measuring tape. All right. You're going to get a CAD drawing. That's the only way you'll get it. So anyway, tell us a little about who DAS Audio is. I think we've landed on DAS Audio now, right? DAS.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about who DAS is to our audience, and about who you are and what you do for them as well, Darrin.
Alrighty. Well, DOS Audio, believe it or not, have been around since 1971 in Valencia, Spain, and it is still a family-owned and operated company. So there's not like a board of investors or some hidden, board guys that we have to answer to when it comes to profits and loss and all that kind of stuff that typically drive what manufacturing and audio is nowadays. So we're family owned and we're very proud of that, and that we have the CFO and CEO who work together hand in hand. He's now co-CEO, and we have head of engineering who is now also CEO as well. And he is the nephew of the founder of DOS Audio. So Don Juan, that's really his name, Don Juan,
I
is
love that.
the
I need to meet
originator
him.
and founder of DOS Audio. And it came out of a passion of audio and a passion of love of sound and engineering. He wanted to be able to manufacture a speaker system for his dad's band, and he started basically making speakers at home like a lot of other guys that are into the audio business. And he kept at it, and he had more and more outside companies and other businesses, venues, government contacting him saying, hey, I heard you make speakers. At a particular point in time in Spain, it was hard to get electronics from outside the country into the country. And this is also in the early days of the disco boom, which originally, this is before Ibiza. So for people who are like into the club scene and have a little bit of understanding of what Ibiza is, this is before Ibiza. Valencia was actually the nightlife hub in Spain. And that is kind of where and why we originated, how we originated, was manufacturing high-end systems. Back in the day, everything was dynamics and audio, hi-fi sound, high fidelity. Thus, being the global thinker that Juan was, he wanted something that was universal, something that the English language could transcend globally, which was very popular, and that hi-fi and definition and dynamics was the key buzzword. So DOS actually stands for Dynamics and Sound. And with Dynamics and Sound, DOS Audio was born. And we're still the same family company. And we've actually just grown down the block in Valencia. It started out in one building, then grew to the building next door. Then we brought in a wood manufacturing shop, and then we expanded in electronics manufacturing, and literally just grew down the block in Valencia, Spain. So we're still in the same neighborhood, and we're still manufacturing from Valencia, Spain. So it's DOS Audio, and proudly manufactured in Valencia, Spain, but enjoyed globally since 1971.
And one of the only speaker companies, this thing that sticks out in my mind, that makes almost everything inside its own speaker.
Yes, 98% of our entire catalog is done in-house. So you'll find we have a few technology partners, companies like PowerSoft for the higher end powered speaker systems, and we have Pascal amplifiers as well in some of the products, and even Ice Power, which is another European company. So these are all European companies. Everything you're looking at is manufactured in Europe. We do get some raw components and raw boards and stuff like that that will come from Asia, but when you look at how we manufacture, we do our own drivers, we do our own driver baskets, the voice coils, the magnets, all of that. And then we test it. And then we assemble it inside the speaker and test it. We do the same thing with the amplifier. We test the amplifier, the amp modules independently. Then you put the DSP board and you test that independently. You put it all together, then you test the entire power module together. And then you put that in the cabinet with the speakers and the drivers and everything, and then you test it again. So it's a very rigorous 10-point QC process. And like you say, it's not necessarily the fastest, but you will get the best quality, best bang for your buck. And you're talking to somebody who's been in the game since, I'd say, '86. Early '90s, I started working in music stores, selling equipment, and then late '90s, early 2000, I got into the manufacturing side. And since 2000, I've been working on the manufacturing side of audio, and this is the highest quality per cost with the lowest failure rate out of any electronics company I've worked for or consulted for. And I've worked for quite a few companies since 2000.
That's a big thing when it comes to speakers is reliability. So thank you for telling that. It's very interesting to hear, and I do remember that story a lot when I first heard, and I actually met Darrin. First time I met him was during a training session actually, and he told that story, and it definitely says a lot about the company, and when you see the speaker, you see it, for sure. So why did they? So Altea 20A. And you're done with that story, right?
I have inventory of the Altea Duo 10A, black and white. The Altea Duo 20A is landing in black and white. I have white at the moment, limited supplies of black, but more are on the way.
So this is the first entry into the portable column array market, and that's
Yes.
that was interesting again because they do the
we're known
line
for
array
line arrays
system so well.
We're known for big line arrays, concert systems, stadium systems, festivals, you name it. We're known for the big line array, and now we've gotten even more popular for the affordable, easy to use line array with the event series. So Aero series is probably one of the most popular names for us when it comes to audio manufacturing. The Aero series has been around for quite a while, but now we have a new series called ARA, which is all the bells and whistles you could imagine in a line array system, to the degree where everybody's like best feature from their line array, we've combined all of that into one cabinet. And that is called the ARA series. And it's pretty interesting that a company with that high end of a goal still pays attention to what I would consider a smaller, more intricate niche market of the column array. We are kind of late to the game in the column array, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm kind of glad we took our time and did it right, because we saw and we took a lot of feedback and a lot of information from guys like you, people that we've worked with and seen in the market for years. We've got a large group of ambassadors, and we take a lot of feedback and we boil it down and make sure that when we come out with a product, we want to address the needs of the market. We don't want to just, hey, stick this driver in this cabinet and stamp our name on it and slap it out there and send it to the market and see who buys it. We don't do that. We've never really done that. We have a very organic approach to our audio process. Another reason why the majority of our cabinets are wood, and even the sub in the Duo 20A is a wood sub. It's a dual 10-inch, but it is a wood sub. Now the top column piece, as you can see here, is a plastic piece. But we wanted to listen to what the market's complaints were and address them. And one of the biggest things was that, hey, it sounds good, but I can't really turn it up. It's not high SPL. It sounds okay at low volumes or in a small room, but when I bring it outdoors, it just disappears. Or when I get 50 people in the middle of the room, I can't hear the system. So that was the core of what we were trying to achieve and address. A high SPL system that you could hear far away and that gave you the clarity that you typically don't get in your average column. So yes, to answer the question you're popping up there, what makes the DOS column different? Three-way, still very portable and very light. We have high definition stereo Bluetooth. You can connect a pair of these columns in high definition stereo, full fidelity, and I can go a good 60 meters away with the source and still get all of the audio. Plus, we have control. We have an app called DOSLink GM. You could connect 32 of these columns together and actually put them in different zones and configure them how you wish. I want to bring up, let me show you, if you can. This comes with backpack, and you also have two handles. pretty lightweight for what it is, between the 10A and the 20A. Double handles on both the 10A and the 20A.
100
And
pounds.
the optional dolly board or pallet. So I'm actually going to skip down a little bit and show you some of the control features that I was referring to and show you the app. But actually, before I do that, let me show you this micro compression driver. That is one of the biggest things. That little driver is a micro compression driver, along with 4 of the 3-inch drivers and then 2 of the 10-inch drivers, gives us a 3-way system. And there's not a lot of 3-way systems on the market. It's basically us and one other player that you'll find on the market, especially when it comes to the retail environment. And because we have a horn, we have 50 degrees of vertical coverage. So 100 degrees is roughly the average for a column, but everyone else you'll find is pretty much 30 degrees, which is not a lot of vertical coverage, which means the minute you get enough people in front of that coverage area, they're going to absorb that frequency, and you're not going to get audio from the front to the back of the room. So again, 3-way system, high SPL, high output, you're looking at like 127 dB. Very good coverage horizontally and vertically, and a lot of bells and whistles under the hood as far as the features are concerned on it. But we have this little beautiful app called DOS Link, and this is really neat for guys who are deploying a larger system, a lot of different columns. It doesn't only work with the columns. You could have point source speakers. We even have a fixed curve array in the Vantech series called the Vantech 20A. And that, you can even control everything you would normally do on the back of the speaker. You can actually use your app and control it. So that's the DOS Link GM app. Everything you do on the column, you can actually go in and control with the touch of a button with your phone or your tablet. So those are just some of the things. There's even more, but those are, I would consider, the biggest differences between us and the competition or what you'd see out there in the market. And you got to hear it to believe it, to be perfectly honest with you. It's one of those things.
The coverage pattern on that is definitely attractive. And as far as the column array systems go, you don't see that a lot.
No,
So
you might get really wide, and that's the other trick to it. The wider you get, the less vertical you typically get in a column. So to be 100 degrees wide but 50 degrees, your average point source speaker is 50 degrees of vertical coverage. So you're not missing anything when you use this column versus a point source speaker. It's actually wider, but giving you the same vertical coverage as your typical point source speaker. So that's the other thing. A lot of guys really gravitate to it, and just a high SPL and uniformity. I mean, you're getting really good, clean sound. And that's the other thing. We have, I don't want to say a signature sound, but we have a very unique sound. It's very transparent. It's not overprocessed. It's not scooped out. But we do have DSP settings if you wanted to play with the EQ and some of that on the actual cabinet itself. And whenever you're ready, I could show you the controls.
yeah, please do that. Darrin was so gracious to bring the speakers with him, so we can start to see that stuff as well. If you want to pull the slides down, we can get that in full view.
I'm gonna switch my camera here, and I'm gonna switch over to the.
I've got some pictures.
Bam.
Oh, there it is.
So can you see that this is the white Duo 20? Oh, sorry, the 10A in white. So as you can see, actually, this little lip, you see that where my finger is? Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So actually, that it's my phone. It's a tablet or phone holder. It's got a little lip. So you can actually put your device there, and even though it may make some vibrations from bass, it won't slip off or fall off.
Look at that.
It's got a little holster tab kind of built in.
Well, that was
And
cool.
this is the control surface. This is what we call DOS control. Anytime you see an LCD screen with an encoder, you can see I've got 3 mic line inputs here. Well, actually 2 are mic line, and 1 is a dedicated instrument. These are auto sensing, so you don't have to worry about flipping a switch. There's no switch needed, so you don't get any pops or noise when you're going from a microphone to, let's say, your controller or any other instrument. You have a high Z input on channel 3, and that could be your guitar, your acoustic guitar, bass guitar, electroacoustic, whatever you want to plug in here. It could even be keyboards, for example. You can actually go in, depending on what your output of the device is. As long as it's a high Z, you have that control. You can actually mix on these individual knobs and have your through to connect to another column, another system, whatever else you want. You have the ability to do that. And the encoder, you can see now I can go into the presets. I have live as the default. I have vocals, which is basically for like talking heads or speech. I have a club mode, which is basically like your DJ or your club, kind of a smiley face curve on the EQ. And I also have the ability to do a sub gain. That's a pretty cool, unique feature that we have. So the average column you'll have maybe a 3-band EQ or maybe some presets. This, I can stack the 3-band EQ on top of the presets. I've got low, mid, and high, and I can adjust the dB levels of low, mid, and high frequencies in addition to the sub gain. So I can independently control the volume of the sub, not affecting the mid, low frequencies going to the rest of the column. And that's a really another cool feature, especially when you've got dual 10-inch subs that work together. To give you an idea, the dual 10-inch subs are actually more impressive than a single 12. It's closer to a 15-inch sub because you're getting that what's called low frequency coupling. So when you have two drivers working in harmony with each other in the same space, they magnify low frequencies better than a single 12-inch driver, for example. So that's the reason why we did 2 10s. And you've got all the bells and whistles right on the back of the box. And I can do this wireless audio. And I can actually go in and connect stereo wireless, or I can do what's called DOS link. And I can connect multiple columns together and connect them to my phone just to do audio control. What was the question? Go ahead.
My question was going to be, you mentioned the dual coupling, and that's something that I don't know how many DJs understand right off the bat. So
yeah, it's a little technical for most guys to kind of wrap their head around it, but
my question was specifically though, how are they laid out inside of the box, inside of the subwoofer box?
All righty, I'm glad you asked.
I'm not sure if we had a picture of that.
Yes, I do. Let me go back to.
And then as you show that picture, explain that again.
All righty. So if you explain it so well, I'm going to present my slide here. So let me know when you're back. All right. So these interlock. Oh, I forgot one of the coolest features, in my opinion, that
we got a talking subwoofer.
Overlooked. We have a 3-way height adjustment capability. So to go short, medium, or tall. Let me switch. Short, medium, or tall with the height of it. So you see these two 10-inch drivers in the sub?
I see them.
Okay. So they are working in the same cabinet. And what happens when low frequencies, good example is this. You still see a lot of bass cabinets, for example, guys who play bass, guitars. You see a lot of bass cabinets. They don't use a big giant 15-inch or a big 12 or 18-inch subwoofer. They actually use a bunch of mid-size 10 or 8s or 6s for multiple drivers working in the same cabinet because they work together, and there's something called low frequency coupling. And that means the more drivers you have that produce low frequency next to each other, there's an exponential curve of low frequency that's magnified beyond the normal spectrum of one driver. So let's say, for example, I've got one 10-inch driver, and at 80 hertz or 60 hertz, for example, I'm going to get a certain dB level. Every time I add an additional driver within a certain range of frequency, I'm getting a higher output at a specific frequency. And that's something that you can't account for when you have just one driver. It's something you almost got to look up. I'm trying to explain it in layman's terms the best way I can.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's low frequency coupling. So the more drivers you have operating in a similar low frequency, you're going to get a boost or a bump in that dB level of a particular frequency range. So that's why we have two 10-inch drivers instead of one big 12. Gives you a more compact space. The cabinet doesn't have to be as wide or as deep, but then I can replicate better low frequency than a single 12-inch by using two 10-inch drivers. And I save space.
Yeah. The footprint of that, although you have more components, the footprint actually becomes smaller. It's a little high, probably a little bit taller.
Right. But not much taller than a single 12, because for you to have enough space for that cabinet to develop the normal frequency of a 12-inch driver, you need some height, width, and depth to it. So, it's a trade-off to some degree. It's more components. It's a little more expensive in a multiple component level, but it's more efficient in that we can actually mass produce more of this same driver that we use in a lot of other products. And that brings our overall cost down. So you'll see a lot of components you'll find in a retail or MI product for DAS audio. You'll see very similar, if not the exact same driver or model in the really high-end installation stuff. And it's because we're making our own drivers. We don't have to rely on some other company to make a driver for us. We can manufacture whatever driver we need to produce whatever frequency we need in a given space and time.
Hey, Darrin.
Yep.
You want to come back into the picture?
Sure. Let me switch back. I think I'm done with the
Do you have anything else you want to show?
I think that was mainly it to show. Let me just see what else I forgot. Oh, options.
It's three total components.
Well, technically, it's two low-frequency drivers, four mid-frequency drivers, and then one high-frequency compression driver. So total components.
Let me ask the question differently. I'm sorry. Okay. Hold on. When you actually have to set it up and put it together, pieces.
Pieces. Gotcha. Sorry. When you say components to an audio driver guy, a design guy,
I know.
I start counting components.
My fault.
Let me switch back to me. Here we go. Getting the hang of this.
I want to learn a little bit more about how it's actually put together. That matters.
So, actually, if you can see, I'm going to stand up back here and show you a little bit. You can kind of see a column over here.
Let me put you in full screen here. Nice and easy.
So I've got these. I have two here, but technically it's three individual pieces. I left it short to show you. So technically you have two dummy pieces. There's no drivers in this. Doesn't make a difference. They connect the same way with a little clip and Molex, and there's magnets in between the two, so that when I connect, look, I can actually hold the top column. I'm shaking it. You got to shake it really hard to get it to disconnect.
Yeah.
So I have these two that go into the base of the sub, and then I have this one that goes on the top. So technically, I have three column pieces that connect to one sub. So altogether, four pieces. One sub base, two dummy columns, and then one driver column. And as a result, I can make it a short, medium, or tall stack. Let's say you've got this on a stage.
On a stage, exactly.
And I do an event in Hollywood, Florida, It's a nice little outdoor stage that we have. It's about 4 feet high. It's on the median of a street. The whole block is blocked off. The whole street is blocked off. And they had me on a stage. And with the average column, if I'm high up on a stage, I'm going to be shooting 15, 20 feet over everybody because you don't have the ability to adjust the height. I was able to set my sub up on the stage, which was about chest height for most people or neck height. And then I put my top column directly into the base of the sub. So now I have my column at the perfect height, even if I'm on a tall stage.
That's an interesting hedge that DAS Audio engineered there instead of using a pole.
Yeah. And that's so you have more flexibility of deployment.
Right, because normally, or in the past, or you've seen other companies, to get the proper usage of sound, height, and being more flexible, you'll have the pole, an adjustable pole. But a lot of people are not crazy about that look. So
Right.
having it this way and then having the option to change the height with the dummy piece that comes with it, right?
Correct.
Is very nice. And they're thinking, of the user that might not always be on the floor.
Exactly.
I like that.
Exactly. So yeah, you have a short, medium, and tall. You have three-way adjustable. So 3 inputs, 3 height adjustments, 3-way output, low, mid, and high frequency control. So 3 ways. Those are some pretty interesting, easy to remember, unique differences of this column.
Darrin, we're friends, right?
Yep.
Okay. And we're all friends here. We don't lie to each other. We're going to talk honest and transparent. Always, right?
Yeah.
You work for DAS Audio, but you're a DJ.
Yeah.
All right.
Always and forever.
And that's why I love you. And I think, anyone who sees you at the trade shows and talks to you has the same feeling. So it definitely comes through. Here's my question. You are also a DJ. I've seen you, watched you. You're a very good DJ.
Thank you.
In your past, what brands, other brands, I don't know if you're allowed to do this, I won't get you in trouble. What other brands have you used?
Well, obviously, I worked for Sur and Vega for like almost 18 years. So Sur and Vega and KRK. KRK was my studio monitors. I have V series back in the day. I still have a pair of my V88 studio monitors, and I used a lot of Sur and Vega. One of the first times I did a small stage at Ultra. I had my own stage at Ultra with some other friends of mine that were pretty well-known DJs. Before Ultra became the behemoth that it is, I had my own little stage, and I actually had Mackie as a sponsor when they were first coming out with the SRM speakers, which ironically had RCF drivers in them.
Yes.
So I've worked with those guys. I've consulted with a lot of other companies, EAW. Had some great stuff. I was carrying around passive stuff with amplifiers. And I'm trying to think of who else. What else have I owned? I've been always a bit of an underdog when it came to audio. I didn't run to the biggest brand or want to have the same thing as everybody else. I was always a bit odd in that I wanted something unique and something different.
I'm the same way.
And I also wanted what I wanted for the reasons, not because anyone else told me. I tested it and tried it. So I was always kind of rooting, always, a proponent of the underdog when it came to audio speakers. So obviously I had Sur and Vega because I worked for them for so many years. But before that, EAW. I had some Mackie stuff early on when they were first coming out, actually before Loud, became a conglomerate.
Here's the reason why I asked that question. Because my segue is, have you taken out these?
So yeah, that's what I was saying. That's kind of how I learned about the real benefit of the 3-way height. I thought it was cool. I knew I wanted it. We pushed with engineering to have some features that the average manufacturer or the average engineer may not understand because they're not a user. And I think that's one of the keys for me in the industry, in the history that I've had in the industry, is I've never removed myself from being a student. I've never removed myself from being the customer. As much as I'm a salesman, as much as I'm a marketing guy, as much as I'm a whatever position I'm going to have. I was a training guy, I was an R&D, I was a product manager. I've had a lot of positions in the audio manufacturing side, but in all of those positions, I never lost fact that what would I like to have and what would the masses like to have. I don't design or give input from just a personal view. I want to see what everyone likes and dislikes, but I'm always a customer, a potential customer, a user, a student.
Let me stop you there because I love that. My next question and the segue, what you just said is really what we've created here as a company. And I just know that when you sell something and you actually use it, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
So tell our audience, what you've used it for, kind of what the events were, the situation, and then really what your experience was, and then also kind of what you noticed compared to some of the other stuff that you mentioned previously.
Right. Well, first and foremost, the clarity. Having a three-way system is a night and day difference between a two-way and a three-way. It's a really big difference, and especially when you get to high SPL levels, you don't get the same, you have more headroom, is really what I'm trying to get at. You don't distort as fast, you don't have to push the system as hard to give you good coverage, which is hard to do with the column design because most columns are wide and short. They don't throw far. So that was the first thing. No matter where I used it, indoors or outdoors, I was able to get really good coverage. And then a good example, like I say, I do a block party thing in Hollywood, Florida, and we block off the street. And I used to bring out 15-inch subs, a pair of those. I'd bring out a pair of 18-inch subs. I'd have a point source system one time, and then I'd have the fixed curve system for another time. And then once we were developing these columns, I said, well, let me see. This is a bit of a reach. I'm doing a block party here. I've got to cover like 75 to 150 feet, and people pack in pretty heavy around the stage. So I need to, and I want to push it, but I don't want to blow anything up. And I think that was a real testament for me to become a believer, was that I went from carrying around a pair of 18-inch subs and a pair of fixed curve tops or point source tops, which was 5 times the weight and 4 times the size, physical space, to this column system. So I decreased my weight by 1/5 and decreased the size of space that it was taking up by like 1/4. And I had more than half the amount of audio. And that's what really stood out to me. I was like, wow, I used to carry around all this big heavy stuff, and now I can go a lot less than half the weight and still get more than half the power and coverage. And I've done that testing the system out quite often, and I found that that was really the turning point for me to go, wow, this thing really does hold up very well. 100 people, 150 people. People always want to gauge, hey, how many people can I use the system
What is
for?
that?
And that's such I cringe a little bit, but I understand the typical mentality. Is like, well, how many people? Well,
I get it.
you could cram 100 people into a 20 by 20 space, sure. But when you spread those people out and you have a wider area, then what?
For some reason, on every private event contract, at the top, it says number of attendees or guests or something like that. So in our head, we all started at a private events company or work our own, and that's just it. It's just somehow it's muscle memory. How many people? That's like the first question you want to know. I don't know what it is or why. it's important to know, but it really, we all know it's the room, right?
Right.
But
also
block party?
position in a room. Yeah, block party.
Outdoor
Outdoor.
with a column array?
I know, it's crazy.
Not a line array, a column array?
Yeah, I know.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Darrin.
And I had some other guys come out who were interested in the system, and they couldn't believe it. They were like,
Isn't that the best?
they're like, they're like, bro, where's the sub? You're hiding a sub under there somewhere.
They're like this. They start doing the walk, you know? And they don't want to they don't want to get too close to you while you're doing your thing, you know? They're like, I'm a DJ. They always leave with that. What are you using? What is that?
Yeah, what is that? What are you using? Where's the other sub? They say, where's the other sub? I'm like, there is no other sub. It's like, nah, you got to be kidding me. And they look like, dude, look under the curtain. Look under the it's fine. There's nothing under there. Yeah. Oh, current draw. That's the other thing. Very low current draw.
Yeah, that was a big thing I noticed.
Extremely low current draw. So yeah, before we
Why does that matter, Darrin?
Well, it matters because how many times have you gone to an event and you start plugging everything in, and the next thing you know, clip, you trip a breaker. You can't use your lights with the same system that the audio's on, or vice versa.
Yeah, and I think situationally the world now has events in obscure places, barns and historical buildings, and places that don't have great electricity. So nice to know your system will sound great and doesn't necessarily need a lot of power to do it.
Yep. Yeah, let me show you this little slide here, if I may.
Are you going outside with a generator, right? Another thing. Now your generator lasts longer.
Yeah, you're not pulling as many amps. So if you can show the slide for me, I'm going to just show the kind of the bullets of the rundown. It should be a white. There we go. So here's what I consider the nitty gritty. 3-way, 3 channels, 2,000 watt peak, 2 10-inch low frequencies, 4 3-inch mid frequencies, 1 1-inch high frequency. It goes from 37 hertz to 20K. That's very impressive for 10-inch drivers. And then it averages at 127. I personally measured 128 dB, and 100 degrees wide, 50 degrees vertical.
Look at you.
You've got a LCD screen with the presets, stackable 3-band EQ, wireless audio and control. You can stream stereo wireless and have full control with an app. You could do 32 of these things and delay them every 10 feet if that's what the room requires. And I'll explain the real key of why I recommend people delaying their systems in a minute. But it comes with the backpack column for the backpack for the columns and a cover for the subs, all included. And you're looking at 60 pounds, and it's like you say, less than $2,000. So it's a win-win scenario.
Yeah.
And this is the Altea Duo 20A, and I want to delve into the delay thing. This is something a lot of people don't realize or get into. We had a room at Rolling Loud, is a big festival that's now kind of globally known. There was some activation where there was I think a Levi's booth, and it was like a second-story booth, kind of a glass house almost. It was a plexi room, had air conditioning in it, and it was great that it was a complete square. But the DJ booth area was small. The area that they were kind of concentrating in the dance floor was very small. But then people would pack into this thing because it had a lot of air conditioning, and you had viewing of the main stage. So you pack a lot of people into a small room. Those bodies absorb everything, but your array system, your column array systems are really close to each other, and they start to affect the sound in the middle. If you ever gone to an event where you kind of stand in the middle of the room and you can't feel the bass, and then you step 5 or 10 feet to the left or 5 or 10 feet to the right, and you notice, wow, I can really feel the bass here, but I stand dead center of the whole thing. I don't feel anything.
Yes.
And that's cancellation. Frequencies, and yes, phase and cancellation. So high frequencies, you'll see that you'll get what's called phase. And then typically with low frequencies, they'll cancel each other out. But in essence, they're roughly the same thing.
Darrin,
Yep.
you want to flex a little bit? Drop some knowledge real quick.
Go ahead.
ChatGPT, explain this to me like I'm 14. Sound phasing, and then specifically for the Altea, but maybe in general, placement for the column arrays. Because I've seen some people, like you just said, that they're so close together, and I think people think if they go like that, it's going to make a big difference. And I understand because sometimes you don't have the space. But just let's hear if we have the space in the vacuum. What do you say? Phasing quickly, and I think it all kind of ties together.
That's funny. I just had one of my guys just picked up the columns, and he's like, "Okay, how should I place them? Where should I place them?" I say, as far apart as it makes sense for the size of the room you're in. So I'm not going to tell you to go all the way to the corner of the room if you're not covering the dance floor, being in the corner. But let's say, for example, you've got the average DJ booth area you're looking at, usually guys will have 6 feet, right? And they'll stick a column to the left and a column to the right because of the look. And like, hey, I want to cover the dance floor. Everyone's going to be right here in front of me because I'm the DJ. But they don't think about phase, frequencies rippling out into the room and basically crashing to each other in the middle of the front. And they don't think about the cancellation that takes place. So I tell people a lot of times, it really depends on what your audience is, what you're trying to cover, but just be mindful of the space. You want to basically, and you said chat GPT style, basically, if this is the area I'm covering, right? The space in between my fingers is the DJ booth, right? I don't want to put my system right here and right here, because what happens if you drew a triangle between the system, right? I'm now in the middle of the system. A lot of times, low frequency cancels out right there, right where they meet. So if you spread out your system a little bit, move it wider, now my triangle is this big instead of this big. And I have more sound that can travel in the area before they start negatively affecting each other. And that's phasing and cancellation in kind of in a nutshell. When you have things spread out evenly, not too far, you want to cover the area that you're trying to cover, but you don't want them right on top of each other as far as unless they're working together, unless your system designed to work together, you don't want them fighting each other. So another thing, a lot of times you'll see a DJ will have, like the room might be off to an angle, or they might have the DJ booth here and he's using one speaker as a monitor and the other speaker's out in the audience, and grandma is back in the corner talking about the speaker's too loud. There's plenty of times in those events I go to my app and I'll pinpoint that speaker and I'll delay it 8 feet, so that now when the people at that table closest to the speaker aren't going to complain anymore, because they're hearing the speaker on the other side of the room at the same time they're hearing the speaker that's closer to them. So by being able to delay, I'm able to evenly get the system to cover the whole room without anyone really complaining about something being too loud. I'm not changing the volume, I'm changing the time. If you're right on top of this speaker and you're 20 feet away from the other speaker, of course you're going to hear the speaker you're next to first. But if I delay that speaker to where now I feel like I'm hearing both speakers at the same time, even though I'm closer to one of them, mentally, subconsciously, it's not as loud. I'm not annoyed by this loud speaker in my ear because I'm hearing the room. And when people can figure that out and delay in time, that's a real secret sauce and key of an audio deployment. So you almost want to have your speakers set up so that you can have good even coverage in the room and not annoy anybody, which is really the secret. But being able to understand timing and delay, that spatial relationship of the audio system to the room, and understanding how to time and delay it so that everything is smooth and even and not fighting each other. I hope I answered a little bit of what you were trying to get.
That was good. You want a pleasant listening experience. I think
You
that's
want
what it comes
a
down to.
competent, pleasant listening experience, because you can have a pleasant listening experience, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to be happy with it. It's pleasant, the audio is heard, but it's not competent for the room. It's not enough to make people get up and want to dance. You want people to enjoy themselves and not be annoyed at the same time. And how do you do that? It's hard, It's just like trying to play the right song. You can't please everybody. But if you take the bigger perspective, the bigger picture in when you're setting up things and you're thinking about, wow, I'm right next to a wall. Maybe I shouldn't point the speaker straight because it's going to bounce off that wall. Maybe I should turn it in a little bit. Yes, that is the time you would want to not reflect off the wall. But more importantly, having the spatial relationship of where am I trying to cover? How many people do I need to worry about listening to everything at the same time? And being able to time the system so that everyone gets the same audio experience at the same time. And it's not this speaker's over here crashing into a table and I need one over here by me because the bride and groom over here, or whatever the event could be.
It seems like first off, the portable column array system, I think in general, was not designed for a DJ when they first came out. They weren't thinking about DJs. And what DJs
I would say from an engineering standpoint, no, they were not.
Yeah. I don't think that. I think that's happened since the origin, right? The Technics 1200 was not made for DJs. We just adopted them. So that said, it looks like you guys waited, but as far as the DJ market is concerned, it does hedge the because anyone who's used the portable column array understands this. The convenience side is amazing, which you said before.
Right.
I've had that happen a few times where I'm like, I can't believe this is all I have to bring.
Right.
Like, there's so many other components you don't have to bring anymore because of the design.
Yeah.
But there's with some, and I've used a lot of them. There is there can be a drop off in the dynamic part of the sound. You can hear it. It's balanced. A lot of these are they sound good, but like you said, do they make people want to get up and dance? And that's.
Does it sound good in the back of the room? Does it sound good in the corner of the room? Does it sound good?
Yeah.
In all aspects of the area you're trying to cover. And do you lose fidelity? Because that's the other key. You can't hear a speaker, someone making an announcement or talking on it if the frequency is not reaching. The frequencies aren't going to reach there with the average two-way column all the way in the back of the room.
Yes.
So just trying to think of that. Thinking of the bands, thinking of the DJs, thinking of the corporate deployments, trying to encompass all of those needs. And that's why we have the presets we have, and we have the system design that we have, and we have the ability to do the height adjustment. There's a lot of corporate AV stuff where if I'm sitting down the whole time, I don't need the speaker shooting over my head because everybody right in front of it, if it's a typical 30-degree system, they're underneath it. They're not hearing half of it. You're in the front of the audience and you're not getting any of the audio other than the guy. You can hear his voice on stage better than you can hear the PA sometimes. So trying to encompass that. Live bands, DJs, musicians, singer-songwriters, acoustic guitars, corporate AV, talking heads, presentations, video playback. That's another big thing. A lot of times people don't really think of the lack of audio quality and the gain that's needed when you're trying to feed something off a TV or a tablet or an iPod or whatnot. Our Bluetooth, high definition Bluetooth, sounds phenomenal.
And that's kind of always been a thing with
Most
with
Bluetooth
DOS.
sounds like you're underwater.
Yeah, yeah. I just know that from the 7 series and the 4 series in the Altea. That was a big thing that I learned.
Yeah. So the 7 series has the high definition Bluetooth chipset, and that's the same chipset we're using in these duos. And you could stand, 50, 80, 100 feet away with the device and still control and hear everything in stereo. And it's not rocket science to pair it together. That's the other thing. And once you're paired, you're good. You can go in and out, turn it off and on. When you come back, if your Bluetooth is on, you'll be able to connect to the device again.
It all sounds great. That said, at some point, you started to sound crackly again.
Oh wow!
Then you sounded good, and I wound up on a delay, and I'm wondering if I sound weird.
No. Well, actually, I don't see a delay
I figured
anymore.
it out in my brain, and I've just been talking on a delay. But I'm interested to hear the sounds on the listen back. But I want you to stop me when you hear a lie.
When I hear what?
When you hear a lie.
Okay.
Okay. We're friends, right?
No, I'm just joking.
DOS Audio in Miami.
Yes.
Florida.
Miami, Florida.
Manufactured in Spain.
Valencia, Spain. Correct.
These particular speakers we're talking about also manufactured in Spain?
The enclosure in the tin is a plastic enclosure that is manufactured in Malaysia. The wood enclosure is in Valencia, Spain. So the 10A box, because of when you get past a certain percentage threshold of manufacturing, has to say made in China on it. Although it's QC'd, assembled, and tested in Spain, it has to say made in China because of the sub-enclosure is plastic along with the top columns. Whereas the 20A says made in Spain. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but when you understand manufacturing, when you cross a certain percentage, you have to say it's made in China because of the majority of the components, like basically the entire enclosure of the 10A is made in China or Malaysia.
All right, so that was a lie.
So it's half and half. If you're talking 20, I can say, yes, we're focusing on the 20. So the 20, yes, made in Spain.
I'm kidding.
But I don't want anyone else to buy the 10A and be like, those guys lied. We're talking about the 20A.
No,
so
not
yes,
at all.
the 20A, no, not the 10A.
Next question. Altea 20A currently on this date, December 5th, 2023, 189999 math.
Correct.
And that includes the subcover and a bag for the top, all 4 pieces? I'm sorry, all 3 pieces?
3 column pieces assembled in a bag. I think I showed the bag on the screen.
And if you could bring the column pieces closer to the camera too, just so we can kind of see them. But I don't think we saw the bag. I have a picture of the bag.
Yeah, we showed it on when I ran through the PowerPoint.
Oh, that's right, the PowerPoint. I didn't see it.
Nice.
Not bad.
Little backpack. Nothing too fancy, but not too shabby either.
Oh, they come with it. It's not any different from other brands that I've seen.
So dividers, Velcro, you can take them out if you wanted to. I suggest leave them in so you don't scratch up the column pieces. Put the column piece with the drivers in the middle and put the 2 dummy pieces on the outside. That way you have good weight balance.
Trolley available.
Trolley is a optional piece. It is additional cost. It is available. Go back to the trolley. You'll see snaps. Okay, I'm gonna grab something, show you this real quick. The snaps on there. This is the cover
DJ Bishop.
for the sub.
We got to use it here. DJ Bishop loves his DOS Audio, Altea Duo.
Oh man, yeah, he picked them up at DJ Expo. That was the first shipment that landed in the U.S. And I want to say, Bishop, if I'm not mistaken, aside from me, was the first purchaser user of the columns. So shout out to Bishop.
I love it.
Yeah, he was waiting very, very patiently for those columns to come out. So you can see the little buckle here. snaps to.
Bishop, just be happy to order them in 2021. You probably would have got them at the same time. It's not funny.
So yeah, this is the cover
Salute
for
to
the,
you too,
the
man.
sub. So yeah, this is included, and it has the snaps, which snap to the dolly that you saw. All right, next question.
I'm going to keep spatting truth. Available now, both black and white.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get white at DJ Supply Store up there, but available at DJ Supply Store right now in black. And they come with the covers,
Yep.
which is beautiful. That's why I couldn't find them.
Yes,
in the
not needed to be sold separately, not a separate SKU,
They're in the
guys.
box.
Included inside the box.
That's good stuff.
What a crazy idea.
I know. Bluetooth, mixer, adjustable height, a dynamic wave pattern different than other column arrays. Pretty much all of them that I've seen.
Yeah. More coverage, the wider coverage pattern. Yes. Definitely.
Seems more if you're coming from the point source sound, this is going to be more like you're used to. That's
if you're used to a sub and tops,
yeah,
you're going to be very pleased with this column compared to the two-way column, because your two-way column is just like having your top by itself, no sub.
I have a funny story, but I sold another brand with a pattern like that to a customer who was used to using, point source and subs, 18.
Right.
And this was a 12 and a 12 sub single. And then he just couldn't understand why I kept redlining. And I said, well, then it's never going to be as loud as what you had. And also, can you show me the room? It was so unfair for these. I felt so bad for the speakers. I really did. I saw the room like that's a DOS Audio lighter system room, bro. And it was all marble floors.
Ooh.
You're just like, I'm like, this is where sound goes to die, bro. What are you doing? I feel so bad. But anyway.
Now you could give them a three-way column.
These will be more like that, but we're not saying you can do any room with it, of course. We're not saying that. But that's great.
You get enough of them and you delay them, you can walk from the stage to the back of the room, and it'll be less weight and less power than a big system. Placement.
Yeah. You also, we talked about this very cool app that seems to have features that DJs should use. And
more DJs should learn about delay. Delay is your friend. Limit visibility is your friend. You can check the app to see it limiting. You can put the logo light to see if it's limiting.
The other thing is true SPL.
Yeah.
And headroom.
Yeah.
Something where
1M, 1W. That's the rule. 1 watt, 1 meter. So we tell you what we're measuring it at. And I challenge guys to look at SPL instead of watts. We're so programmed to go 5,000 watts. Oh man, this thing's going to be sound great. It's going to be loud. And you read a little asterisk. It's independent of protection circuitry and limiters. So the amp might be capable of doing that, but if the driver doesn't do it and the DSP is telling you, no, you can't go that fast, it's like having a Hemi engine telling you can't go any more than 45 miles per hour.
The problem and the misconception is watts of power.
Watts.
What does power mean?
Power doesn't necessarily equel sound.
Sound, exactly. And when you read the spec, watts of power, it makes sense. In layman terms, it makes sense. But when you start to understand how these things are put together and what the specs actually mean,
I challenge guys, look at SPL.
why I don't even really look at it anymore. We only lift it because people still look for it, right?
Yeah, it's still kind of the golden rule, but I challenge people all the time now. Look at SPL, man.
Yeah.
Things are so efficient nowadays. You don't need to necessarily have the same power. Perfect example is you've got guys with 4-cylinder turbo engines that can keep up with a V6 or a V8 because the car is not that heavy. You're using a different intercooler or cooling system. You've got a turbo on it or a supercharger or something crazy going into that little 4-cylinder. It's efficient and it's lighter. So you're not carrying around as much weight. You don't necessarily have to have that much power or that much current draw. That's the other thing. You don't need to consume that much current draw, that much power to be able to get to the finish line, to be able to get to the quarter mile or whatever the goal is. So I tell people, look at SPL. Definitely look at SPL and take that into consideration when you're looking at power. Don't just look at power.
No. It really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. The decibel does everything. That sound.
Right.
All right. Well, Darrin, I spoke a lot of truth there. I don't think there were really any lies. I think we learned a lot.
That's good.
I am more than impressed, more than I was earlier, impressed with the system. And I think people need to really consider this as an option if they are buying a new system.
Yeah, if you're looking for something really, really compact, but don't want to sacrifice audio quality and don't want to sacrifice the clarity, I think this is really one of the best systems you could really look into. You know, 2 different models for 2 different price points. I would say almost 2 different customer types. You know, you'll see the smaller system for like the more singer-songwriter or corporate AV talking heads type scenario, and bigger bands, you know, bigger bands, DJs and whatnot would typically gravitate toward the 20A, just so you have the more headroom and more power, more SPL.
It's very nice looking too.
Yeah, it's kind of sexy. You got that little European kind of je ne sais quoi, so to speak.
Anything else you want to leave with us today, Darrin? Any questions from our audience? Let us know now. I think I've said it all.
Yeah. Follow us, like us, add us, tweet us, whatever. DAS Audio USA. That's DASAUDIO USA. And feel free to reach out, ask us questions. Same thing with Facebook, Instagram. And if anyone needs to reach me, I am DJ_B-side. That's DJ_BSIDE. And I'm also still doing like audio support and workshops and stuff like that in the industry. You know, I wear the DAS hat, you know, for my 9 to 5, but my heart's always in the industry. I'll help anybody that's in need of education and entertainment, you know, synonymously. If you're trying to figure out, you know, which direction to go, hey, how do I use stems? What computer should I get to do this or to do that? Or, you know, what processor should I use for this system, et cetera, et cetera. I'm willing to share the knowledge and information and experience that I've gained. So most guys will tell you that about me, no matter where I am or who I am. I'm the same guy.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been in different places together.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly.
Well, Darrin, thank you very much. This was great. I knew it would be great. You're always a pleasure to speak with, and your wealth of knowledge is always appreciated from my standpoint, and I know my audience will appreciate it. And I think we have really some great nuggets here that we're going to move forward with. And people need to consider this. This system definitely deserves your attention, and I think maybe we'll have to go a little deeper with a review on the DJ's Guru side, but we'll talk about that offline.
No worries.
But thank you very much. And It was really a pleasure, man. Happy holidays to you. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Thank you, everybody, for watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Peace.
Bye-bye.